3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hey, this is Mitch Ward, and welcome to the first edition of the Red River Edition podcast. And what we're going to talk about during these podcasts, what's going on in the auto industry. Every single day, somebody is calling me, asking me, is right now a good time to buy? What are the interest rates? Hey, are my trade values good? Or a lot of times they're even asking, hey, I just totaled out my car. What's insurance going to do for me? Are they going to try to rip me off? Are they going to take care of me? Or I got an fender bender. All kinds of things that people ask me about. We decided we're going to form a podcast to discuss about this. And we're also going to talk about, get ready, how the government has a lot to do with the prices that are going on right now in the auto industry. I know what you're thinking. There's no way the government can actually manipulate the prices. Well, if you're watching this podcast or listening to it, you probably agree with me. Yes, they can. And we're going to talk about that too. We can't wait to get started. Welcome to Red River Edition podcast. Today is January 24th, and what we're talking about today is the pricing in the auto industry. So we just come out of the pandemic era, which, in March of 2020, we all imagined that the car prices were going to go away. Car dealers quit buying cars. We were scared there for 2 weeks. And it's crazy what 2 weeks would do to the auto industry. That 2 weeks went where nobody bought cars. We sold them real cheap because we just assumed that the world was coming to an end. People were walking around with masks or to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. We don't know, but governors were literally sending people home to their houses and telling them to stay in their house for 2 weeks. Folks, I don't know if you remember that. That was 2 years ago. And yes, it was in America. It's crazy. When we tell our kids about that time in history, they're going to think, no way. I hope they think no way. Hopefully we're not a communist country by then. But anyways, enough of that. That's political stuff. We're talking about what it did to the auto industry. So by the mid-2000s, car prices began to creep up. Enterprise at first dumped all their inventory, all the rental companies, Enterprise, Avis, whatever is out there, they dumped their inventory and it dropped the prices. Then all of a sudden, they quit buying inventory. The manufacturers quit building them, and car prices begin to increase. Used cars begin to increase. Used cars with 25,000 miles cost more than a brand new vehicle because there was none out there by 2021. You could not get a new vehicle. And at the same time, manufacturers were coming out with hot new products, Ram TRX, Ford Broncos, Ford Bronco Sport, but even the regular products, Toyota RAV4, Toyota Camry, you couldn't get them. So the used cars were $4,000, $5,000, 20% higher than a new car. And that's what started the craze. Everybody thought, well, I need to hurry up and buy a car because the prices are going to keep getting higher. Boom, boom, boom. We just started selling inventory. And when we thought all our car salesmen were going to go broke, they had the best 2 years they had ever had in their entire life. If you got into the car industry, started selling cars during that moment, you're a little bit spoiled now. You don't even know how to treat your customer right. You just assume people come in and they buy a car, and look, if you show up to buy that car, it doesn't matter. If you don't want it, I'll sell it to someone else. So our salesmen in this industry, they quit treating customers right. And that's a different thing we're going to talk about later. Hopefully one podcast, we'll talk about how to treat your customers in the right way and how to sell a car. And also maybe we'll talk about from the customer standpoint, how to pick a good salesman, right? There's lots of salesmen out there. You want to pick the right one that's going to take care of you in the right dealership. But right now we're talking about car pricing. So here we are, 2023. We're coming out the pandemic level. Used car prices were at all-time high. Now they're rapidly dropping. I think I looked somewhere the other day, we've seen over a 20% decrease in pricing. So you think, well, right now is the time to buy a used car, right? Our car prices have gone down 20%. It's been more than that, I believe. But if you think about it, used car prices probably went up 40 to some moments 60% in value of what they should have been. Remember, every year you own a car, the car should get worth less. In the last 24 months, every year you owned a car, it got worth more. So although we have seen a decrease in pricing, is right now the time to buy a car. So That's up in there. It depends on where you're at. If you totaled out a vehicle and you need to buy a car, absolutely, it's time to buy a car. But do you buy new or used? So new prices are also higher than they've ever been. There's certain vehicles out there right now. You got a 2022 Durango with a $7,000 rebate. So I'd say if I was wanting to buy a Durango, I'd go buy a new Durango as opposed to a used Durango. But then you've got other vehicles out there that you've seen a dramatic decrease in value. Let's say, big SUVs, a lot of times, if you're going to buy one with 40,000 miles, those things have dropped tremendously in value. That might be the way to buy one. If you do, make sure you buy a service contract. Oh man, there's something else. There's another topic we can talk about, right? Why should you buy a service contract? 10 years ago, I'd say, maybe you shouldn't. You're not going to drive it very often. You can fix it on your own, go to your own mechanic and get something done cheaper. Today, oh man, that's a whole new topic we're going to have to talk about. It's called the pandemic build. What kind of crappy products are being built out there now with the computer chip shortage and I guess the supply shortage. I don't know if these manufacturers are pulling parts out of nowhere and plugging on these cars. We've seen some ridiculous things in our shops. Oh man, which brings us to another topic we need to talk about. That would be technician shortage. But hey, right now we're still talking about pricing. So what's a man to do? If I'm driving a car that say has 50, 60,000 miles and I'm used to trading every year for a brand new car, should I trade today or should I not? The good news is you're in a situation where you got a nice car and you don't have to trade. So what I would do is go into a dealership, see what my deal is, and tell them where I wanted to be. And if it doesn't work out, walk away. You can still be friends and walk away. And then that salesman knows, hey, if something changes, I can call that customer back. I would say if you don't have to buy a new car at the moment, and I know this is probably sad for a guy that owns multiple new car stores to say, but if you didn't have to buy a new car at the moment, I wouldn't buy a new car. It's honest. I wouldn't be buying a new car at this moment because I believe that the car prices are going to fall even more. If you're in a situation you had to buy a new car, buy it, but just plan on keeping the car, right? Don't buy it thinking you're going to flip it. A lot of customers got spoiled to that. They bought a new Bronco. Oh, there's another subject we can come up with. So what do? We sold customers new Broncos for, either invoice or MSRP, which by the way is only like $2,000 difference. It's not a big difference. And then these customers would sell that Bronco to Carvana. There's another subject we can talk about who's now on the verge of filing bankruptcy. Carvana for $10,000 more than they gave us for it. And then the customer comes back and wants to buy another one for the same price. And I'm like, why? If I'm going to buy and flip a car, me as a dealer, I'll buy the car and flip it. I'll go register it, pay the government the sales tax, and sell it to Carvana for $10,000 more. I don't want to just keep doing that for customers. What we want in our car dealership, we're looking for loyal customers. So we don't mind selling that car that's going to sell for $10,000 over to, say, Dalton over here, or Evan, because we know he's going to keep that car and he's going to drive it and he's going to enjoy it. I don't want to sell it to somebody that's always just trying to get over on the next car dealer. We want to make sure that it stays to our loyal customers. And right now we want to keep it in our area of trade. In the last 18 years I've been in the new car business, I sold new cars all over the industry or all over the state. It didn't matter where you come from. We sold them to Hawaii and Alaska. It didn't matter if you're going to come back for service or not. We were looking for that volume. The industry we've been in the last 2 years, I'm not going to get the volume. I'm not getting more cars. I'm not going to have but 10 TRXs this year. So I want to make sure I put them in my area, my trade area. That way those people will come back and trade with me and I can take care of those people. At the same time, I don't want my customers going out and buying somewhere else. So if I were to sell my cars all over the state, what happened during the pandemic is as soon as the car hit our website, our phone started ringing. People from Texas, people from California, people from Florida, and our salesman, and this is where I say the salesman got spoiled, our salesman could have sold that car immediately to somebody in another state. And they wouldn't have to do anything. They pick up the phone, hello, yeah, I got the car. Okay, let me send you over a credit app. I'm going to have somebody deliver it to you for free, and we deliver the car. But then I'd have my customer, my neighbor down the road say, hey, I'm looking for this car. I don't even have it because I'm selling them all over the state. So quickly we had to back up and decide we can't do business that way. So we had to decide to change the way we do business because we would rather hold that car for somebody that's going to buy from us, right? Just here recently, we sold a Raptor. Went a little further than we wanted to, but it still stayed in our state. But we held that car for probably a week when, that car, we could have sold it 2 weeks before it even arrived if we'd have let somebody out of state buy that car. But we decided to hold it, let somebody inside of our state get it, hopefully be a loyal customer from here on out when the market changes, which we think is going to change. I got a friend of mine, a customer, come in the other day that's driving a smaller SUV. It's got good miles on it, really low miles because they hardly drive at all, but they're looking to upgrade to a bigger SUV. And they're looking at buying a new one. I would say if you're wanting to trade from a low mileage, smaller SUV, you want to try to find a low mileage, bigger SUV just to save money. Because what happened is their car value dropped so much because it's a used vehicle. We've seen a 20% decrease in the last 3 to 4 months. And it's dropped so much in value, but that new one, which happens to be a Ford Explorer right now, has like $1,000 rebate. So it doesn't have much of a rebate. So you've lost money on your vehicle, but the Explorer, which has increased in price probably, I don't know the percentage, I'm going to say 5% at least over the last 2 years, it's still holding its value. So I would either hold off to trade or I would move to a used vehicle that has also took the depreciation in value. If you're trading, you just want to trade like kind. If I'm going to trade right now, I want to try to trade for a used vehicle with low miles because it's taken the hit, if that makes sense. I don't want to trade for a new vehicle. If I'm used to buying new vehicles and I trade every 10 years, it doesn't make a difference to you. Yours is wore out. It's 10 years old and you're buying a new one and you're not even going to remember what you gave for it in 2 years. So it really doesn't matter to you. If you can afford it, you can afford the payment, buy the new car, get what you like, and love it. And then it doesn't matter what it does. To ask MSRP or to ask over MSRP, that is the question for 2021, 22, and 23. And I've kind of alluded to it already. And the fact is, the cars that get sold over MSRP where normally I would sell 150 of them a year, now I get 25 of them a year. But our overhead hasn't gone down. So car dealers' overhead hadn't gone down, but yet their volume's gone down. And that's a question I want to put out on Facebook somewhere or get a poll is what's the average markup you think a new car dealer should make on a new car and what you think a used car dealer should make on a used car. I would like to know what the consumer thinks on that. Because I would be willing to bet the car dealers make less than what the consumer thinks we make. And even what the consumer thinks we ought to make. I think we make less than that. But we've asked over MSRP and we've sold some vehicles over MSRP. Normally these vehicles, we're only going to get 10 or 15 of them a year. That's it, one a month. We have sold them over MSRP. To our loyal customers, we normally bring it down to MSRP. And that's crazy in itself because for 15 years, I bet I can count, I don't know if I hate to say lie and say I'm counting on my, 10 fingers, but there's very rarely have we sold cars for MSRP. So MSRP in itself is crazy for me to be able to change to that pattern, but the average markup is not that much. So selling one for MSRP barely pays your overhead, especially if you go to an electric car. It will not pay your overhead. We'll go broke selling all electric cars for MSRP. So Ford Broncos, customers ordered them from us. At first we were selling some for invoice and some for sticker price. And then by the time we actually got them, if you ordered a Bronco, the fiasco with that. Ford really bombed that one. But by the time we actually got these cars, other dealers were marking them up $15,000, $25,000 over sticker. I knew one local dealership that they may have told the customer how much it was at MSRP, but by the time they got there, they said, hey, now it's going to be, 10 grand over. If you don't buy it, we're selling it for 25 grand over. So then customers would call us, well, what do I do? Well, I can't get you one. I'm 28, 30, 36 months out ordering you another one. So if you already placed your order and you want it, you're going to have to give them what they want. and in which they weren't hurt. They could give over 10 grand over MSRP. If they're sick about it, they could sell it for 15 grand over MSRP right then. What's the ethical thing to do? That we still don't know. We're still learning that today, right? And so there for a while, our online prices, any of those hot products, the Lightning, the Ford Bronco, the Raptor, the Ram TRX, Mach-E Mustang, believe it or not, that thing was on fire for a little bit until people started driving them. But we went and put them, we put them online, 5,000 to 15,000 over sticker. And our theory was, there's a law that I can't go up on price. If I got it online, an online price, and I'm advertising that, I can't charge John Doe more than I can, Jane Doe over here. Everybody's got to pay the same price. So we raised the price, because the old adage in the car industry or anything you're selling is what? I can always come down, right guys? I can always come down on price. But what that did was people started bashing us on Facebook, bashing us on social media. Not that often, but we don't want to be talked about, period. We don't want to be talked bad about. And but in theory, all we were trying to do was, again, keep the out-of-state buyers from coming and buying our cars at MSRP, clicking, getting a lead. I didn't want to sell it to California. And most of the time, it wasn't even a customer buying the vehicle. Who was trying to buy the vehicle, Dalton? Other dealers were trying to buy the vehicle, and they would go get their friend and put it in their friend's name and give their friend $400 and try to buy this vehicle from us, only to take them to the auction and flip them for 20 grand over. Then it'd be on a used car lot selling back to you, the consumer. And 60 grand. Yeah, some of them is Ford Bronco Raptor right now, 40. I've seen some of the auction, $50,000 over sticker, bringing it at the auction. $150,000 over sticker on that Hummer, electric Hummer thing. And so that's why we ask over MSRP for the vehicle, because I can't go replace it used. And so if I'm only going to get 10 of them, why would I want to sell it for sticker and then have to go back to auction and buy the same one I sold you for 15 grand over sticker? It didn't make sense. But if a loyal customer came in, that's where we would come down off the price. The laws need to be changed. It needs to be out there where I can price that thing at sticker and have a disclaimer. If we think you're planning on flipping this car, it's going to be over sticker. If you're out of state, there's going to be extra fees applied to it. We ought to be able to choose how much I can sell it to somebody else for. But it's just based on what you plan on doing with the vehicle. If you're going to flip the vehicle, I just assume keep it. I don't want to sell you the car. If you're from California and I'm never going to see you again, I just assume keep that car. I don't want to sell you the car. And so that's what we're going to fight. We're going to fight that. We're going to try to get that law changed where I can put a price on that vehicle for all my local customers, because 98% of the cars we sell are local. 2% go to those people that I'd have to increase the price for. So why am I pricing them online for the 2% and then my 98% can't see what I could actually sell it? But that's what's going on in the auto industry today. We can go on and on forever. What we want to do is try to take this podcast and be able to make somehow where you can take questions. We want to interact. We want to take the questions from the consumers, and you ask us about the car industry. We're going to be totally transparent. I'm totally transparent. When somebody ever calls me and asks me something, I'm transparent. Here's what I know. If I don't like a Ford product, I can talk bad about that Ford product to a Ford customer. They're still going to buy it. So I give you my opinion, and it really doesn't matter. I've done that throughout the years. I've had people come in trying to buy a car from me, and they're friends of mine. And I was like, man, it doesn't make sense to buy right now. You're gonna have to pay your interest rate's a little bit too high. I wouldn't do it. Crap, your payment's gonna be $200 high. Wait 6 months, get your credit up, and come back and let's try it again. Well, I'll see them driving a car from another store down the road, paying more than what I could have got it for. And so then I started, you know what? I'm giving them my advice, but I'm going to pursue the sale. That's how I do from now on. I give you my advice and I pursue the sale, because ultimately it's up to you. And despite what the government says, we as consumers are adults. We as consumers are responsible for our own decision. I know that the government likes to step in and try to fight on behalf of the consumer. They kind of go a little far. They act like we're too stupid to figure it out. I get it. I own Blue Green Vacation Rental. Anybody own any of that? It's a timeshare. I own it. I get attorneys call me. They're suing them because of their bad practices. Now that I own it, the practices are bad. Their contract is very misleading. And but am I going to sue them? No, I'm a big boy. I made the stupid decision to buy. Actually, I didn't buy it as given to me, but even if the timeshare is given to you, it still costs the crap out of you. I can tell you that. So anyways, that's another podcast we can talk about, how the government gets all up in our business, and the only one that makes money is attorneys and lawyers. They're the same thing. Attorneys or lawyers, whatever they want to call themselves. They're the ones that make money whenever you get in lawsuits, not the consumer. So anyways, tune in to us for the next time we do the podcast. I have no idea when it is, but we're going to get that going and we're going to put it out. Maybe eventually, depends on how this one looks. Thanks, guys. Check us out, Red River Edition Podcast, wherever you find that at. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Don't go to TikTok. If you got TikTok, it'll be on there. But man, don't download TikTok. Don't download TikTok. Do not download TikTok.
Why not download TikTok?
That's a whole nother topic. We got a lot of topics. We got a lot of topics. Don't download TikTok.
I have to rewatch this with a notepad. Every time.